All right, so welcome to Faith, Fiction, and Folklore, or as we like to call it, the Triad Podcast, where we try not to mess the podcast up. And today, on part 3 of this live stream, we have got the conflict between Tucker Carlson, Ben Shapiro, and Nick Fuentes.
Oh,
so,
goody.
How familiar,
the Manosphere.
Yeah, the Manosphere. So how familiar are you with this?
I saw a video about it in glancing, but I did not watch it. So
yeah, so sorry, excuse me, I didn't mean to pull that up. I was hoping to not use Google Chrome, and then I did it anyway. So if there's a lag, give me a minute, and I'm going to try.
If there's a lag, thank you, Google.
Yeah, thanks, Google. Okay, yeah, let me just close that. So when did that interview with Tucker Carlson happen? It was like a week ago, 2 weeks ago, and it's still in the news, and everybody's still arguing about it, which in this news cycle is just like, good night. It's like it's been going on for 2 years compared to how fast everything's been moving. So they're still arguing about whether or not they should be platforming Nick Fuentes. And so I wanted to give my 2 cents on it since everybody else has been commenting. I guess I'm joining the bandwagon. But I did a rant I did a rant about the situation on poor Cody. Like, I just kind of vomited on him a couple weeks ago. And this is just kind of a situation of that. Yeah. So,
there we go.
All right, here we go.
Let's get into it.
Let's see. I want to start out with introducing who Nick Fuentes is, and I think this is something somebody posted that he was doing on Twitter, and we'll just play this for a minute, and I'll kind of give my reaction to it. So,
okay.
But I think you'll know what's going on pretty much as soon as you hear it.
Dude, just like watch this. This is so awesome. I got red pilled watching stuff like this when I was 18. This is where it's at. Women hate this.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, hang on. I'm trying to get this thing to actually enlarge, but it's not.
Oh, like full screen?
Yeah, so people
double click on it.
Women will never understand this.
Oh.
And women will never understand this.
This is a big screen.
I didn't do that this time.
Women will never understand this. Okay? They will never understand this.
In diesen Ländern regiert tatsächlich das Kapital. Sie reden von der Freiheit der Presse. In Wirklichkeit hat jede dieser Zeitungen einen Herrn. Und dieser Herr ist in jedem Fall der Geldgeber. Diese Presse moduliert nun die öffentliche Meinung. Diese Parteien unterscheiden sich so wenig voneinander, als sie sich früher bei uns voneinander unterschieden haben. Sie kennen sie ja, die alten Parteien. Das ist immer alles und dasselbe. Der Völkerstreit oder Hass untereinander, der wird gepflegt von ganz bestimmten Interessenten. Es ist eine kleine, wurzellose, internationale Clique, die Völker gegeneinander hetzt, die nicht will, dass sie zur Ruhe kommen. Es sind die einzigen, die wirklich als internationale Elemente anzusprechen sind, weil sie überall...
Okay, so he's basically...
So was that propaganda saying that Trump was Hitler? One of those things?
No, it's just some video trying to put Interstellar speed. There's like this fad on the internet where you put the soundtrack to Interstellar on the back of a speech or something, and all of a sudden the speech becomes magically profound. So some guy did that to one of Hitler's speeches and then put all this like anti-Jewish iconography on their video.
Okay.
So they were trying to make it sound like Hitler was speaking some profound truth, and he's laughing about it.
So it is propaganda.
I guess, but it's trolling, really.
Gotcha.
And like you can tell the way he's laughing, and he keeps like reframing it about it like it being a distinction between men and women. Like he says stuff like that, but he kind of trolls, like he pokes at people to try to get a rise. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, so that's Nick Fuentes.
Yes, that's Nick Fuentes
reacting. Okay.
Did I not set that up proper? I thought I'd set that up proper.
You might have it. I missed it.
Okay, well, apologies if I didn't set this up. No, I was just trying to give you a flavor for the kind of stuff that Nick Fuentes says. He's basically, he's like a rage bait kind of guy. He says outrageous stuff. Like, he says he's a big fan of Stalin, for example. He made that claim in Tucker Carlson's interview. In my opinion, I don't think he actually is. I think this is one of those things where he just kind of tries to get under people's skin. And
somebody clipped it.
There's a trolling element of it, and it's hard to say how much he actually believes. But I do think there's a danger in that you can start out trolling and then gradually over time come to believe your own outlandish stuff.
And this is why you got to be careful saying stuff on the internet, because people clip tiny bits and do their thing.
Well, he kind of markets and saying stuff like that and getting people mad. So that's kind of his deal. I don't know how much of it, because I haven't watched him enough to know how much he actually thinks this stuff is true. I'm just looking at this, seeing him laughing, seeing him look at kind of the absurd imagery in that video, and I'm like, this kid's just trying to get under people's skin. Like, this is a gimmick.
Yeah.
You know, this isn't somebody who's like, he's not a Richard Spencer who's going to go out there and lead a Charlottesville or some such thing. Like, this is a kid who's just poking at people.
He's more like me. He'll poke at you just to poke at you.
Yeah, but you've never liked Hitler.
No.
Or said you liked Hitler. So
no, I'm not a fan of Hitler.
But there's a trolling element to it. And, I mean, who knows what he actually thinks and where the trolling ends and the sincerity begins and all that. I don't know. I haven't watched him enough to know. But there's some points I want to make about this.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Get to your points.
I'm just talking in your ear. You haven't interrupted me.
Oh.
Not at all. So there's that. Now, I wanted to come back here and listen. I wanted to play Ben Shapiro's interview with Megyn Kelly here. And so we've done that. And then I wanted to show Nick Fuentes' side of the story, kind of after I'd shown what Ben Shapiro had to say. So let's start here.
A right wing that embraces its own fringes will end up in the same position as a left wing that has embraced its fringes.
Okay, so that's why I want to get into it. Embraces.
Yes.
So now, having spoken to Tucker, I actually see that interview very differently.
Okay, so I probably need to key this up first, too, because I'm an idiot and I'm not doing this right.
You're not an idiot.
Well, basically, so Nick Fuentes is kind of this trolling figure, and Tucker Carlson has him on his show, does an interview with him, gives him a favorable interview. Now, if you'll recall, I was absolutely livid with Tucker because he basically did this hit job on Ted Cruz. And so now him and Ted Cruz are mad at each other and they're saying hateful things at each other. But it was with that interview. You know, Tucker Carlson was pretty... I thought he did some things that were pretty slimy in that interview. And then he turns around and interviews Nick Fuentes. And he asks questions and he pushes back. It's not like it was like a fluff piece necessarily. But he didn't pull the same crap he pulled on Ted Cruz. And so in that respect, it was a friendly interview. In that it was like meaning it's what an interview should have been. He sat there and asked questions and did his job instead of did the gutter sniping thing and attributing motive crap and all that stuff he did of Cruz. But anyway, he had him on the show. And so now everybody's mad at Tucker because he had Nick Fuentes on his show. And Ben Shapiro and Megyn Kelly are talking about that. So is that clear? Okay. Am I keying this up enough?
My brain is now clear.
Great. So we're going to
because Red Bull gives you wings.
There you go. Okay.
No, they do not support us.
I'm going to play this, and then I'm going to turn my camera off for a minute so I can get something to drink. So
copy that.
Because I'm getting dry mouth. All right.
And I did listen to the interview, and I knew what Nick Fuentes was. And I think he did show himself to be who he is. It wasn't his most vile stuff, but you got the feel for what this guy was. But I really think Tucker was talking to him, Ben, to put like a bumper on this guy. Because what Tucker was urging him the whole time was to understand that collective punishment for any one group of people is wrong. It's deeply immoral, and it's anti-Christian, which this guy is supposed to be, and reminding him of how deeply immoral that is, that you should not be looking at a group of people, whomever it is. The left does it to everyone, whites mostly, but like this collective shame, white men in particular. And there's a group of people like Nick Fuentes that does it to groups of Jews. And he was making the case throughout the whole interview in the way that Tucker does. He's not like you or me. He's not like pointed and cross-examining.
That is not true.
And was making...
That is fundamentally untrue.
No.
Ask Senator Ted Cruz whether that is true.
He gave it to Ted Cruz because Ted Cruz is a politician.
That's hold up. So only politicians get cross-examined?
You don't. Well, look,
Truly?
it depends on the person.
Tucker would never cross-examine a person who is not a politician. That's his rule.
Tucker has excoriated public figures who purport to speak for us and represent us for many years. Nick Fuentes is a podcaster civilian.
Okay, I just have a question. We all in our industry are constantly excoriating people who are in our industry. It happens all the time, every single day.
Okay.
Again,
but we're talking about his interviews.
we can agree to disagree on your interpretation of what Tucker was doing there. I think everybody should watch and determine for themselves what they think Tucker was doing in that interview. And I urge you to watch it back to back with the Ted Cruz interview to determine whether you think that was an aggressive Tucker Carlson interview. And you can judge for yourself.
I didn't say it was aggressive.
My opinion.
I didn't say it was aggressive, and I don't think he would say it was aggressive.
And
I think his point was, this guy, first of all, he's become a behemoth, sadly. He's got 5 million viewers on Rumble. He's got 1 million followers on X.
I agree.
This is all before Tucker Carlson. And he was platformed, I hate that verb, but he was
Calix says, ha!
platformed by Patrick Bet David. And he went on Dave Smith's show, and he went on another big show. He's been getting more and more purchase in the political ecosphere, including right wing.
And I think that's
Patrick
bad.
Bet David has a huge show. I know, but
Patrick
did you know that Patrick Bet David had him on? Did his life blow up?
Patrick Bet David did a significantly more aggressive interview with Nick Fuentes than Tucker did.
Okay, but my point is simply he's growing. He's growing in stature. And so what I saw Tucker do was not whitewash his ideas, but try to put bumpers up on the guy. I know Tucker well, and I think that was his approach.
Yeah,
and
sorry.
the way, if you want to put a bumper.
Yeah.
What does excoriated mean?
Excoriated. Well, I'm feeling stupid. Hang on.
Because they both said
rip
it.
the person up verbally is what I think it means, but we'll double check.
Okay.
Real quick.
Because they both said it, and I was like, "What does excoriated mean?" And now I'm lost because I couldn't figure out what that means.
Criticize severely. Yeah, that's what it is.
Okay.
Just verbally criticizing somebody. That's all.
I see.
Yeah.
Apologies.
Calix says right. So yeah, it's just criticize people verbally. So, okay, I'm gonna let them go back and forth for a minute. Then I'm gonna kind of give my opinion, and then we're gonna circle back to Nick Fuentes' account about what happened between him and Ben Shapiro. So, we'll do that.
Up on Nick Fuentes, is it helpful to say, you're fucking vile, you're an anti-Semite?
Yes.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it
that
is.
doesn't put a...
Yes, it
No,
is.
it isn't. That makes
Yes,
the
it
audience feel good because you have hand-to-hand combat, but it doesn't help change that guy's view or his extremeness at all.
Okay, I'll tell you what doesn't change Nick Fuentes' view. Tucker Carlson with his arm around Nick Fuentes, grinning for the camera, while Nick Fuentes tweets out America first, and then triumphantly goes on the air the next day to explain that he has essentially used Tucker Carlson as a vehicle for manipulating other people. Okay, that's what Nick Fuentes is saying, not me, Nick Fuentes. Okay, and Nick Fuentes, and by the way, I will again say that Tucker Carlson, when you say to somebody in an interview, do you condemn anti-Semitism? And then the person says, sure, which is what Nick Fuentes said. He said, I'm not an anti-Semite, which is blatantly untrue. Yeah. A responsible journalist would then follow up, demonstrating that that is false. Tucker did not do that. He allowed him to get away with that, and then he allowed him to talk about, quote-unquote, organized Jewry, followed by Nick Fuentes being...
She's been using the F word a lot, Calix, ever since she got off of Fox News. It's like she's been liberated. No.
She has been set free from...
Yeah. That's the beauty of podcasting. We can cuss now. So...
Yeah, say what we want.
Yeah.
Treated to a disquisition by Tucker Carlson about why Christian Zionists of all human beings on earth are the people that he hates the most.
He took that back.
You can't take that back. How do you take that back?
He did.
How?
Because he
should explain why it was wrong. He should explain why Christian Zionists are actually wonderful people.
Tucker is very quick to self-flagellate, and he went on with Dave Smith the next day, the next week, whatever, Monday, Tuesday this week, and said, that was stupid. I didn't mean that. He said, I'm angry at people like Lindsey Graham. I'm angry at people like Ted Cruz because he thinks they run headfirst in these conflicts and they don't think about what's going to happen to American kids.
Hold up. If we're talking about firing inside...
Okay, all right, I think that'll pause there.
Wow.
Well, I'm glad to hear he took it back. I hadn't heard that because I'd heard the whole I hate Christian Zionists. He also said, oh, it's like the worst heresy. And I'm like...
What's the worst heresy?
Like Christian Zionism, like believing that the Jewish people, have a right to that land.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's the worst one. What? There's a lot of heresies out there. Like, that's the worst one. But anyway. So anyway, he said he really didn't like Christian Zionists. I'm glad to hear he took that back. But that's not my point. I'm digressing. So Ben Shapiro has said on multiple occasions, and he kind of has this worldview that he doesn't think people like Nick Fuentes should have a platform or be allowed on these interviews.
Like the big wig interviews.
Yeah, and I disagree. Like, I don't agree with Nick Fuentes, and if he actually believes the stuff he says, which I've already communicated, I'm not 100% sure. A lot of this is trolling, but I don't agree with it, assuming it's true. But if you're going to be for freedom of speech, you got to be freedom for speech, and I don't care what you call it, whether it's ostracizing, whether it's denying people platforms. It's cancel culture.
Yeah.
Like, you can have 37 different labels for it, and you can change the label every time you get called out. But if you don't let people talk and you try to isolate them in the corner, you're a dad blame commie. You're a commie. And if you had the same kind of power the liberals have, you would act like a liberal. And the only reason you don't is because you don't have the power. It's because you can't. But you would be what you hate if you could, if that's going to be your philosophy. So I don't agree with denying the guy a platform. And there's a point that Nick Fuentes makes whenever he talks about what happened with the Daily Wire. So we're going to hear, because basically Ben and the Daily Wire have tried to put him in the corner, put him in like the naughty room or whatever, and not let not let him play with the big kids. But the thing about Nick Fuentes is he has grown very large on his own. And so despite guys like Ben Shapiro's efforts to isolate him, he's still grown.
Wow.
There's an object lesson here, boys and girls. But anyway, we're going to hear Nick Fuentes' side of the story.
Let's hear it.
Okay. If I can find it. Here we go. Apologies for everything being so blasted small. I keep double-clicking and it's not going on the whole thing.
What about the little arrows?
Let's try that. Is that going to make it... see. You're killing me, Smalls.
Ouch, brain.
Okay, here we go. Let's hear what he has to say.
I've never seen anything on the Daily Wire that's actually critical of Israel. And he quote tweets me. And at this time, I have 1,000 followers on Twitter.
How old are you?
I'm 18. I'm a freshman.
Still a freshman in college, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And this is even before I started my show. And I don't know, I probably got 100 likes on this tweet. It wasn't a viral tweet. He quote tweets me and says, "To accuse a Jew of dual loyalty is the surest sign of anti-Semitism." And like, this is how it sort of begins. And I see this tweet. And by the way, that was on Christmas Eve in 2016.
He immediately called you an anti-Semite.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm driving to Christmas Eve Mass with my family, and I see on Twitter the notification comes up, Ben Shapiro quote tweets me, calling me an anti-Semite. And I was like, what is this? Like, why is this guy attacking me? You know, because I don't have a platform at this time. I'm not an influential guy or anything. And so then I put out another tweet similar. I said something like, if you're China first, you should live in China. If you're Mexico first, you should live in Mexico. If you're Israel first, maybe you should go live in Israel. And again, he quote tweets me and says, you're an anti-Semite.
That same night?
This was, I think, a couple weeks later. Happened a little bit further down the line. And so...
Were you surprised that he knew you were?
Yeah, I was. I was surprised at why he cared.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking, how does he even know who I am or what I'm about? And it turned out that Cassie Dillon, she had texted him earlier and she wanted him to take me under his wing. She texted him after that debate and said, you know, you really like this guy. He's amazing. He did this great debate. She goes, but he's a little too pro-Trump. He's a little too Trumpy. And he goes, I'll take a look. And so I guess the two of them were kind of like grooming me in a sense. They wanted me to go maybe and be a Daily Wire, or maybe looking me as a potential conservative activist or influencer. And so they started paying attention to me, and the more critical of Israel I was, I started to get this really intense pushback from the both of them. and from a lot of the people at Daily Wire.
Why do you think, so you're an 18-year-old college freshman, you're clearly talented and you're engaged, you're really interested, and you ask not crazy questions, like, what is this?
Mm-hmm.
And rather than explain it, they just call you a racist, call you an anti-Semite. Like, that's the first response. That seems like the least effective, well, it turned out to be not very effective in your case, but that seems like the least effective thing you could do. Why do you think they did that?
Well, I think that you have to look at it not in retrospect, because hindsight is 20/20. And so looking back, you could say they made a terrible mistake because look at sort of what they provoked or what they catalyzed. But at that time, you got to consider, I'm 18 with no...
And Calix says, high-profile YouTubers being brought down to the same level as us now. Yeah, pretty much.
It's crazy.
following with no network. I'm coming from the suburbs of Chicago. My parents didn't...
They're shaking in their boots. Maybe. That'd be nice. Need some new blood, I think.
Go to college. I have no connections. And so for them, it was very easy that if they detected that a promising young guy was going to become anti-Israel in the conservative movement, they could crush that person easily and grind them under the heel. So they sort of were alerted, oh, there's a precocious young guy that isn't on board with Israel. We'll keep an eye on him. And if he gets too vocal or popular, we'll cut him down, we'll crush him. Because at this time, as you know, in 2017, it's a very different time. 2016, 17, any criticism or dissent on the subject was a death sentence. You became radioactive, unhireable, blacklisted, and that's exactly what happened. And basically from then on, it was just this escalating series of blacklisting, censorship, hit pieces, rumors to try to ostracize me from the movement. And
while you're a college student?
Yes.
And now he likes Stalin. And that's kind of my point. This kid who's 19, like, I wouldn't want my opinions to be posted all over the internet, and I wouldn't want to be labeled in a position at 19 years old. Would you?
Especially not at 19.
Yeah, like 18, yeah. So he's just a kid. Yeah. He's just a kid, and they're already like trying to ostracize it, because that's the point behind calling somebody like an anti-Semite like that. The reason they're doing it is to put somebody in the corner. Now, if he wasn't an anti-Semite before, he's probably going to start trolling and saying things like that just as an act of defiance, shake your fist at the stars kind of thing.
Yeah, poke the bear.
Yeah, poke the bear and say, I'm not afraid of you. But then after a while, you might end up believing it. And then after a while, you might be a fan of Stalin and cheering on weird videos with Hitler speeches running and the Interstellar soundtrack playing in the background. My point is, Ben Shapiro helped create this guy. In his attempt to deplatform him, in his attempt to ostracize him, the kid grew anyway, and now he's doubled down on these positions that Ben Shapiro thinks is repugnant.
That's scary.
Well, it shows why cancel culture doesn't work.
Yeah.
Ben Shapiro helped create this kid, whether he wants to admit it or not. And now people like Megyn Kelly are going, well, you gotta let him have the debate. You gotta. Yeah. The only way you can teach people if they're wrong is if you talk to them
and listen
and figure out why they're saying what they're saying. And it's like, no, we can't give these horrible people a platform because then they'll take over the movement. I'm like, well, that's how you get a good old boys club. And then you get this subculture that eventually ends up taking over the movement anyway.
Right.
So, Calix says, there's that one Andy Warhol quote. He says, in the future, everyone will be world famous for 15 minutes. Haha. Yeah.
Ooh, I want 15 seconds. That's fine.
Depends on how much money I can get in that 15 minutes. But anyway, so...
Are you all about the greedy money, Gary?
Yeah, I'm all about the money. Some Fed pay me so I could buy a house. No. Anyway.
I just want my tax return check. That's plenty for me.
Yeah, hopefully, get your tax return check. So, anyway, I just wanted to mention that because I thought it was an object lesson in why cancel culture doesn't work.
Right.
And now you've got this kid who may or may not believe this crazy stuff, but he's saying it. And the people who follow him, at some point, they might forget that he's trolling. And then they'll end up, believing it. So he's created, this cancel culture thing created the very thing they're trying to destroy, made it stronger. I mean, we've known this for forever. It's the same principle as why, like, persecution of Christians in China has never worked. The Chinese church is huge and always has been because people, they shake their fists at the stars and defy authority when it's that blatant. You start building these good old boys clubs, people fight you.
Yep.
So I just wanted to point that out, and that is all I had to say about that. Do you have any thoughts, good sir?
No, I mean, honestly, it comes with free speech.
Yeah.
If you, either side of the coin, if you start trying to shut people down just because they give their opinion, you're just as or more wrong than the other person.
Mm-hmm. And again, I don't like the opinions. I don't like them, but I don't have to. Like, the point is you talk.
Yeah.
You debate.
And also, another point is one of them said, they shouldn't have him on a show. And I'm like, it's Tucker's show. He can have whoever the heck he wants on there.
But see, now they're wanting to ostracize Tucker. It's like because he interviewed Nick Fuentes, now he has to go in the naughty corner with all the other anti-Semites.
Yeah.
And I'm saying this is, which is wrong. And I'm saying this is somebody who's absolutely livid at Tucker for that abysmal Ted Cruz interview. I thought that was some of the sleaziest CNN level crap I'd ever seen. So I'm not saying this is somebody who's very happy with Tucker, but you don't put people in the naughty corner ever. You let people talk, you let people have their shows, and you abandon this good old boy club crap.
And if you don't like what they have to say or their opinion, you can always click off.
Yeah, or you can be like me and scream about it for 10 minutes so you get over it the next week.
Or make a still no list.
Or make a very petulant graphic to go on the overlay. Right. So, all right. So that was all I wanted to say about that. I felt like it was important, and I felt like it was a very crucial object lesson because I think...
Yeah. Stuff like this is very important, and we should all know that it's going on.
Yeah. It's infuriating that we're having to talk about this with the right because the left has been doing this to the right for forever. And instead of going, wow, we really need to avoid this on principle, they just complain about the left doing it and then try to do it to each other.
And, flip the narrative.
Yeah. They just try to do the same thing. And it's like, you're not mad that it's happening on principle. You're just mad that it's happening to you and you wish you could do it to somebody else.
Yep.
It's like, it upsets me. Again, I don't agree with them, but they get to talk. That's what it means to be an American.
Yep.
And Kalix says, ha ha ha. So,
ha ha ha.
All right. So, okay, that's all I've got. We're going to move on to, I guess this would be part 4.
We got 4 parts tonight. Holy moly.
We do. We haven't done that in a while. So, okay, we got one more segment left. If you're watching this, if you're still in the live stream, stay with us. We got one more segment left. If you are watching this after the fact, thank you so much for watching.
Thank you.
We will see you next time. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Faith, Fiction, and Folklore. If you did, we would love it if you would subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Rumble. We can also be found on X, Instagram, and Facebook. And we are available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. Thank you again very much for listening, and we'll see you next time.